Okay, okay. As I was saying the other time that as I was telling Juliet, right, and hopefully Paula was also listening. That to be honest, like I had the expectation that many people that would sign, if not all, but many people that would sign up for this class, they should already have some background understanding of design. They will have been trying, trying their hand on some of the design softwares, right? So, but so far the feedback has now been that no, this is my fresh entry and all of that. Yeah, so so to a large extent, I've taken note of that. So to a large extent, I'll be much more, you know, aware of that going forward. And I also tried stating this that many times when I teach my classes, especially for my graphic design class, I try to facilitate, not teach. I try to facilitate in the sense that I try not to I try not to so much pay emphasis on okay how to use some of these design tools, how to use Canva, how to use Photoshop, because I believe if you are really serious with designing, right, once you take your time out, if you go onto YouTube, right, there are tons of material that beats whatever I can try to teach you about those softwares, right? But you will find out that even after learning those softwares, right, your work may not still be, very professional looking. Then the question usually, okay, why and how? Then why is my work not looking professionally? Then how do I get it up there, right? So that now tends to be my emphasis because, hello, if you are really serious, within a month or two, if you are really serious into learning, within a month or two, you should learn the basic, especially for Photoshop, like Photoshop, the basic tools to actually, create flyer. But how do you now accelerate, like really get your work, to communicate effectively? So that has been my that's so to a large extent that would be the major focus on. So it will now be a matter of okay, I will point all of it to some materials that I believe are very good. Like in today's material, there is a crash course, right? This should be the material for today. Yeah, this is the material for today. Here, so here you have my own quick lesson on Photoshop on how to like use Photoshop to design flyers. What are the major things? Just like in quick rush. Then where is it? Yeah. So you have crash course on Photoshop here. So with these two, this thing here, with this one and this one, you should be able to. That should really get you a hang on using Photoshop. Now, me, why do I? To a large extent, I think I have a bias towards Photoshop than Canva because I believe yes, to some people they believe Photoshop is difficult to learn, right? To some people, they believe Photoshop is difficult to learn. Maybe the learning curve is much more steeper compared to what's it called to Canva. But at the end of the day, I've tried using Canva. At the end of the day, the amount of time it will take you to create something that you will have just easily done in Photoshop, right? So it will take you longer time to create something that you would have just quickly done using Canva that you would have just easily done in Photoshop. So that's why I teach towards even when I'm still teaching, I still just stick with Photoshop. And it's not difficult. If you go through this crash course, like as I highlighted it, then the lesson videos I have here too, you should be able to start designing flyers. Like they are not really like if you go back to our week one this thing. Okay, I was meant to edit this, but with this, you get that. Okay, what are the major components of a flyer? You just have the background, image, text, and logo. That is all. So when you go to Photoshop, is how do you place your background? How do you place your image? How do you now, write your text, which we'll be focusing today? And it's not complex. It's not. So as such, there are plenty things you can do with Photoshop. But at the end of the day, you now need to tell yourself what's the major thing am I here for, and focus on that. Learning those. There are just few tools. Like there are just few tools. There are just few tools you need to really do create flyer. So as such, I'm just saying this in respect to maybe if there's someone here that might be feeling a little bit daunting, that maybe a little bit intimidated by Photoshop. Is not. If you go through these materials, this material will give you crash course into that. So I don't know if that gives you some proper expectation of how this class would run. Again, let me reiterate, let me say it again. Again, I am not trying to teach. I'm only coaching and facilitating. And we have each of the, as you see, like before each of the classes, I will have curated some materials for you to go through. Yes, there will be some demonstration, which like today now we'll be doing some demonstration using Photoshop. But at the end of the day, it's just a demonstration. But the major key thing is for you to take those material, learn them, then do the assignment. When you now do the assignment, we will now continue the conversation from there. When you try to do the assignment. And okay, let me quickly jump into that about the first assignment. The first assignment was quite deliberate in like pushing you people ahead of time. Like I wanted to, yeah, the first assignment is also still tied to the expectation that I had, that when many of you are here, you should already started designing. You should have some fundamental knowledge about all these designs, so either Canva or Photoshop or Illustrator or any other or InDesign. So as such, what the assignment I gave you people, it shouldn't be strange for you to, it shouldn't be too difficult. But it shouldn't be strange for you not to try it. You should be able to try it. The idea was just for you to try it out, right? But I think up to now, yes, the idea was just for you to try it out. And the one thing I found out with this, I think even the about learning anything is that once you try something, if it doesn't work, and you now find another person that does something, what is it? That does maybe that exact thing, that successfully does that thing. When you are looking at what the person has successfully done, the level of understanding, you'll be able to like absorb what the person did, right? Over maybe when, yeah, you'll be able to like really absorb, oh, this is how I should have done this. And to a large extent, I think this is where me too I learned. Like when I was being taught, like it wasn't that I was sat down in class, they finished taking me through what's it called, design classes. Then we now move to creation phase. No, I was just given design projects to do, and from there I tried it. There was plenty back and forth. Oh, this you didn't get this right. I go back, and as I was going back, as I was failing at it, I was also learning. I was also going to YouTube and to learn why. And some of these platforms that are really up to now that I still even also listen to, I learn from. I put the link to you. I put the links in the listen. There is Satori, there is the future, right? These are the core key platforms that I learned from. So, with that said, today we'll be focusing on our focus will be on titles. Our focus will be on title, creating effective title. Like what are they that and title now will be, we have to do with typography. We have to do with typography, which is one of the key title. Now, when we talk of title, now I'm talking of typography, which is one of the key elements in design, right? In graphic design, typography is a key element there, and yes, and in discussing that, you can't do it without talking about this contrast as a principle, the principle of contrast as a key principle. Now, if there is one principle of design you need to learn that every other thing hinges on, I think it was Jesus Christ that said, okay, all the laws, right, are hinged under this one law, right? All the law that you find in the Old Testament are hinged under this. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? if all those principles, right, they are hinged on one, is the ability for you to understand contrast. Contrast is the thing. Every other principle you want to talk about, where is it? Every other principle, where are they? Okay. Um, is it alignment? Is it color? Is it proportion, emphasis, which is still this contrast? Is it typography, composition, balance, repetition, hierarchy, proximity, space? Every other thing you can not talk about contrast. I remember when I said something about the last one, I told people that I think why contrast is such a big deal is that I think in our I think it's a very principle that life is built upon. We have evil, you have good. So like for you to appreciate good, right? You must have tasted some sense of evil for you to be able to appreciate good. Now, if you have the negative as a concept exists, or positive as a concept exists because there is I don't know how to go. Okay, like we have if there were no female and there's only male, right? Then the idea of male won't really be appreciated that much. So you find contrast in life, right? In the same thing when we now come to design too, the same thing that too it also plays a very key role. So why yeah, and a very good way to achieve contrast, right? There's contrast in type. There's contrast in type. What do I mean by type? Let me show you examples of this. You can have contrast in type, right? When we're talking of typography, should I use this? I'm coming. Um, can you all still see my screen? Hello? Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So, for instance, yeah. So, in type now has to do with the letters itself. That's the when we say type now. For instance, yeah, we have how to get your baby registered for dedication, right? So, the how to get your right. Looking at this now, I'm seeing a mistake to a large extent. I should have used the kerning. I should have like spaced this thing out a bit to cover it, but that's by the way, sha. So yeah, you can see how to get your the width size is bigger than this one. Is smaller rather. This one, the width, right? This is like thicker and heavier compared to this one, right? And you can see four. And why is this like why like and now what's the rationale behind this? The idea is that okay, you know what, as I'm saying, maybe okay. I wanted to okay. Let me just quick. Let me say. Let me let me finish with my explanation. Then I demonstrate from there. The idea, or the rationale behind this is that when we look at this, because we have like one line, two line, and three line. If they were all on the same, either they are all bold and bold, or either they were all light and light, right? If you look at them, they will just be like everything will just be bland. Like everything will just be bland. But one, because of contrast now, there's some level of what is it called? Um, some level of yeah, there's some level of aesthetics happening here. Some level of appeal happening because of the contrast applied. And why was that applied? You can see that. Imagine there's some level of focus. There's some level of focus and what was the word again? Emphasis rather. That's the word I was trying to remember. Emphasis on some text. That's the ones on the black, the darker this thing, or the bold this thing. Like that is the baby registered dedication, right? Is there's emphasis laid on them compared to this one. So that let's say at the end of the day you didn't get to read this all these other smaller one. The only thing you get to read, right, is baby registered dedication, right? Baby registered dedication. If you just see baby registered dedication, that should be able to a large extent give you the overall idea of what we are trying to communicate here, as opposed to when we just find how to, or when we only have four. I don't know if that makes sense. So when we say contrast in type, this is what we mean. That okay, the letters themselves, right? The letter in themselves, right? We should be able to have contrast. We can have contrast, like the idea of contrast, right? In order to communicate effectively, we can have that in the letters themselves. So beyond that, we can also use contrast in shape. Now we demonstrate all of this, but let me just run you through. Contrast in shape. For instance, we have here we have the use of shape to like play a contrast. So imagine if this shape wasn't there, this shape that that this monthly on-site prayer is seated on. Imagine if it wasn't there. To a large extent, this the monthly on-site prayer will be a little bit bland. It will still come. You get the message, but this gives some level of contrast, and in itself, it gives some level of appeal. So it makes whatever I want to communicate much more effective. So that's what's that's like a typical example of contrast in shape. Should I contrast in shape as in using shape now to create contrast, but there are other ways of using shape, contrast in shape, but that what I just showed you now is a typical is one of them. Let me show you another one. So we have here that's using shape now to create that contrast. So we have join us for Christmas celebration. So we have celebration service seated on this celebration service seated on this what's it called, on the shape here. So it just helps to break monotony. It just helps what's the word monotony abi? It makes it not monotonous. The idea is that okay, we are moving away from monotonous because contrast is that hey, we don't want everything to just be monotonous. It's like music, right? Like if we just have like one beat playing all through. If that is the case, at the end of the day, that beat will just become noise. But if you have one beat, then maybe you contrast it with another, then later you come back to it, then later you contrast it with another, then that becomes musical because we have some level of contrast happening here and there. So in the same way here, so you see the same thing with the design, like when we're designing flyer too. So we have contrast in color. So you can use color. Now the color can either be both in just like what I showed you here. The color can either be in the shape color or the what is it called? The title color. So for instance, we have Christmas in a little bit dark color, not very close to black, but this is not totally black. The Christmas is very close to black, but the color of the celebration service is in white. So with that now, that gives us, it makes it much more effective and breaks some level of monotonous that would have possibly happened. Uh, yeah, so this is another. So you can find here we have to register, visit. So this is one information. So you can imagine this what's it called? This shape here, how it really, really, really helped in making this pop and making it much, much, much more appealing to read, right? Um, do you people get what I just explained? Please,
Yes.
okay, you get it right. Okay, okay. Then we'll move to the demonstration class. And remember, as I said, there is a crash course, a link to a crash course on Photoshop, and even beyond the crash course for Photoshop, there is one that you can go like really really in depth. But with the crash course, if you follow the crash course, you should be able to like really do design flyer. You should be able to like really do the design flyer. With that, you'll be able to know how to cut. But what they are just basic. They are just basic information you need. You need information on how to cut out images, right? How to type your text, how to place background, and what else again? And that's basically it. Then every other thing you need is actually the design thinking, which I'm quite laying emphasis on now. So this is Photoshop. This is just the interface of Photoshop. I have all of this because these are the past projects I've done and or I've opened. So to create a new one, once you launch this, you hit create new here. You to bring this. All I'm saying here, there's also a lesson video that I've done in respect to this. So take out your time to go through it thoroughly. So yes, and for what was it called? For social media, once your stuff is going on social media, the safest spot to be on is 1:1 ratio. That is, and the size is 1080 by 1080. 1080 by 1080, but I think some people tend to take it to, I think, but 1080 by 1080 later, once you go through the material, you see 1080 by 1080 is the best this thing to have. Yeah, but this is like this came up because I've used this what's it called, this this dimension before. If not, I could have come here to type 1080 by 1080, but it's already here. And one other thing I tend to do, I usually like to use what's it called, artboard, which I may not explain here. When you go through the material, you get the explanation artboard. I usually tend to click this. I make sure that I click on this. Then I click create to open a fresh. Where is it? Yeah, to open a fresh this thing. So this is the interface, but which we wouldn't. Our emphasis now is on is on creating titles, and I've gone ahead to look for what is it? Where is it again now? Yeah, this was provided to me by a friend. This is like how this thing. This is a typical content calendar. This is our content calendar, but the past one though the past one. This is usually how a typical content calendar looks like. Now, this one is in the domain of maybe you want to start designing professionally and you are giving gigs, right? Usually, when any serious organization or any serious unit or organization, right, that really want to be curating and creating content online, right, it makes sense for them to have a content calendar, and this is like a typical content calendar. So you can go through it. You can later on your own study it. And the examples I showed the first class to, that's like one that was able to like quickly come up with the last one. So without further ado, let me just okay. A typical content calendar, you find different what's it called? Different column. You have the one for the week, but there are other methods to this, but they all look alike. They all look alike. But for now, this is the major thing. This is the title. This is the topic, right? Though this one is on carousel. That's multiple images. But for now, I'll just focus on creating titles. So imagine now that they need to post this thing on Monday, August 1st of August, right? It means we should have started creating this before, be way ahead before this 1st of August. So imagine this has been given to us now, right? As a gig, or this came as a gig to me. So all I need to do in terms of creating the title, I need to come in and write Control C. Yeah, copy this, Control C on this. Now, before now, uh, one major thing, though later we'll focus on that, like when we go into the proper demonstration class. But today, our emphasis should just be on our emphasis will be on what's it called? Will be on title. Before now, one of the background things I should have done is that the um, the color palette for the brand identity, that's which has to do with color palette and all of that, right? Which for our own church, usually I usually pick it from our logo. I usually pick it from our logo. I was tempted to do that, but for now, just focus on this. Now I'm bringing this out. So I've copied that. Now there are various tools here, right? But now this is one I'll be focusing on. There are various tools here, but for now, this is one I'll focus on. This is the one for the type. As if you want to type your text, there's a text tool here. I click on it. That is here. I click on it and come to my. Yeah, so I selected it and double clicked on my Canva, on my free Canva. You know what? Okay, not to waste our time. I mean, the most important window you need. So this is like me doing multiple things at the same time. The most important thing, there's a window called the layer, or there's a panel, right, called the layer panel, right, which is open here. And when I clicked, you know what? Let me delete this. So once um, yeah, once you open Photoshop, all of this, like, here is empty. This is artboard. It has been created, right? This is like the space I'm working on, which is called artboard. It has been created and it's empty. But once I click on this text too, right? I have it clicked, right? I have it clicked. By default, it select the very first one here. I have it clicked, right? Once I click here, you will see a layer has been created, right? And if I zoom in, Control plus to zoom in, or you scroll your mouse. You hold Alt and scroll in or out of your mouse as I'm doing now. I'm scrolling in and out of my mouse. Alt. So the text is very small here. The text is very small. I will enlarge it a bit, but let me type in my. Remember, I Control C from the content calendar, and Control V here now. So I've pasted the text here, but it's so small. How do I enlarge that? I come to this window called character. But the way to locate this window, and or even this layer, even this window layer, the way to locate that is like you come to the panel rather. You come to window, you come to character, you make sure that this character is clicked and layer is clicked. So it's already clicked. If not, I'll just okay. Since I pressed it now, it disappeared. But once I press character now, it comes on. So it's very small. You can see here it's on 6 points pixels, 6 points. I don't know if you can see. Can you people see? Can you see my? Can you see what I'm doing? Like, can you see the number on the text? You can see it. Hello, can you see? Can you see the points size? I just need to be sure. Okay. So it's on 6 points, so it's quite small. So I need to increase it a bit more. So by increasing, how did I increase it? Once I hover my mouse on this text icon here, the T icon, the two T icon here, it allows me to use my mouse to either once I either slide, yes, to click on it again and slide it up or down to like increase or decrease. But another way to do that is that once I have this all selected here, I can nudge my up or arrow key to keep making it bigger. So that's one way to enlarge this, to make the text bigger. So again, now what am I doing? I'm holding Alt and zooming in. I'm holding Alt to zoom in and out. So here we have, why do I need to hire a VA, right? Now that's the title of that's the title, right? So that's the title. The most important, remember what I said, contrast is the key thing, and we can create contrast through. Okay, but before then, we need to now look at, okay, what's the most important thing? Like the way to approach usually, what's the most important information when someone looks at this, right? When someone looks at it, what's the most important thing that you want the person to, the eyes to hit first? And what's the most important information in this that you don't want the person to miss out? Who can tell us? Who can actually tell us what's the most important? Let me quickly change the color. Before then, to change the color, once you are on this type, what's it called? This type panel, there is a color panel here. So I clicked on it now, and I want to bring it down here to total black. So who can tell us in this information, why do I need to hire a VA? What are the major, or one or two? Okay, let's say one or two. What do you think, or one or two word that is the key word here? VA, right? Nice, yes. That is it. Okay, but yes, okay, yeah, that's it. To that, I think, but to some extent, too, I think there's some level of interpretation too. For some other person, need a VA, right? Can also be the key word, right? Abi?
Yes.
Yeah, need a VA, right? Right? Can also be a key, can also be key. So with that established now, that now means this, let's say need a VA. Let's say need a VA. From my own perspective, need a VA. From my own perspective, is the key this thing. That means to a large extent, this need, right? And all these other ones, they are no longer the same mates anymore. They are not the same mates. They are not the same mates. And if one thing with a very good font, right? Once you download a very good font, I think, yeah. Once you download a very good font, think, okay, maybe I may need to, maybe later now I may need to give you some link to some good fonts, and listing of some font I consider to be good. Or even once you go on net, like very good fonts, you find plenty. So once you have a very good font, one thing that makes a font very good is that it gives you the ability. Once you're on this character, right, it gives you the ability to change the. You can see this one only has two, and which is not very fantastic. You should be able to give it multiple choices of that same typeface, right? Rather, that same typeface should contain multiple fonts. That same typeface should contain multiple fonts. Now, if you go through the materials I sent you in class one, you will really understand what I mean. The difference between typeface and font. This Gilroy now is a typeface, though many times we just call it font for convenience sake, right? But it's not. It's not. It's called a typeface. Now, the font now is a specific one. So in every typeface you give you multiple, but this one is just giving me two. So as that, I will need to change. Now if you check, for me, my go-to font is usually popping. If you find the example of the one I showed you, those examples I showed you, all those are written in popping, right? They're always written in popping. So I will go to popping now, type in PO. So to change font, you just need to come here where I am right now. Let me click out again. You just come here. B-Roy is the font here. Just for me to click it. Sometimes it can allow you to, yes, once you click here, it can allow you to toggle. So these are like the last ones I've used. You can see all of them here. Then it can allow you to, sample each of them as you go through them. Sample each of them. But which we don't have time now. We'll just go straight to popping. Yeah, let's go to popping. This is like my all-time best font. So that means, to a large extent, this need Okay, you know what? Let me scale this down a bit. But right now, you can see right now you can see that there's like in each of the text there's like I think there are plenty gaps in between each of them. I don't know if you can see that there are plenty gaps in between each of them. Why is that? Is because in here, normally this one that we have VA, which is I think that yeah, I think it's kerning they call it kerning, right? The kerning here, which we have as VA, we have 240, which on a norm is supposed to be on zero. Normally it's meant to be on zero. So let me bring it back to zero. So once I hit zero, so you can see, I think it's better now. You can see everything is looking much more better. So there are plenty of things that we can look, but today we'll just focus on on typography, on how to use Photoshop to actually achieve successful type. So with that stated, it now means that okay, our need to hire, right? They need to be placed in a much a they need to have more emphasis. They need to be the major king, like when you look at this. And a very good way to achieve that is changing the typeface, changing the font rather, changing the font to make it bigger. Oh, why am I here again? I thought I changed the typeface. Changing the font rather, not the it's the typeface I want to change. I want to change it to popping. Okay, you know what? I have popping here. Yeah, so I have popping here. So this needs to be bolder. So and the way to do that is to come here, click here, we find different option. So I can go to medium, right? Make it a medium size. Because right now, yeah, right now they all of them are all on light. So we have the typeface popping and the font, right, is light. The particular font now is light, right? Which all of them are seated on. But this one, and since I want to make this an emphasis and also the VA, right, emphasize on that. One method to do that is to give it a thicker font. So I either have to make it semi bold, right, semi bold as I've done here. Should I have a VA? Yeah, a VA. Make it semi bold. So they are all on semi bold. Or I can even push it further and not just make it semi bold, but make it extra bold as I have here now. So they are like on extra bold. So they are on extra bold. So with this, you can see it's much more visually appealing than just when everything was just on the same level of font and everything was bland. So that's just one way to achieve what's it called contrast in your with your types. That's one way. Another way, as we stated there, what is material? Yeah, say contrast with shape. That's using shape now, right? So, and to achieve that many times, I tend to, okay, you know what? Let me just leave this one so that we have it as a reference to as per where we started from. So this is where we started from. So let me just leave it there. So another way to achieve that is using shape, right? To like make some things, to emphasize on something. Like once they are inside the shape, there's that sense of emphasis that is now laid on them, and that would, to a large extent, require me breaking. Not necessarily, but many times once it's a title, right? To there's that need to start, formatting them, breaking them. Um, yeah, and the way to do that, well, the way I normally do this is that I will have this duplicated. I can do control C, control V, right? Control C, control V. So I've done control C, control V, or I just alt drag, alt. I'm holding alt and I drag this out, to duplicate. So as such, I will have y do, yeah, I will have y do up here, right? I have y do, then I, hmm. Do you know what just came to my mind now? Before this is what I wanted to do. Okay. So this is like my design thinking here. Let me just run it through. Before this is what I wanted to do, but I just realized that it won't work. Before this is what I wanted to do. Why do I need to, okay, why do I need, right? I wanted to do this. Need, then I have, yeah, like to delete this, I'm just hitting, like how I've been deleting all of this, just to hit backspace or delete key. Backspace or delete key to delete this. That's after selecting them. So this is what I wanted to do. Then bring all of them to the center. How do I do that? By hitting this. I can select all of them. Okay, no, no. Once I select all of them, what will happen is that once I have them all selected, and this is called what are all these called again? Well, all of these are used to center things. They are used to center to align things here. I think they are aligned to. They are used to align things, so you can either align them horizontally. But once you do that, right? Once you have multiple things selected and you start, hitting this, it will highlight them based on the selected items and not so much based on the canvas. So once I do that, you can see it's highlighted them based on this, based on the relationship between the three items I selected. So it's aligned them to each, right? But what if you want to highlight? What if you want to yeah, align them to the artboard? I already want to get this aligned to the artboard. How do I do that? I come here. I make sure that only one item is selected. Only one item is selected. So I come here. I hit this align to center now. So it has align it to center. So I hit this align to center. So I hit this align to center. So in this, I'm not going to alignment. Once you go through that material, there's plenty of material there's plenty of discourse on alignment. So, as I was saying, I now discovered the challenge, right? Okay. Why do I need to hire a view? Yeah. So to a large extent, looking at this, I think this actually works, though. I think this works, but to a large extent, I was thinking, yeah, to have it much more. Yes, this in itself is working, right? But to have it much more communicative, I think it will be better. Okay, no, let me run you by this. Then I will now do the alternative. I will do the alternative of what's in my head. What's the other way? I think it will be much more communicative. Let me just run you by this. So I was going using shapes. So I was talking about using shapes now. So I have this. The next thing I now need to do that. Okay, I want to introduce shape, right? To use it as a method to achieve contrast. I need to come here. This is shape 2 here. This one here, this rectangle is a shape 2. So there are different rectangle. There are different rectangle. There are two type of rectangle and other shapes. But if you check the samples I showed you, many times usually rectangle 2. That's many times it's just rectangle 2 that I tend to use to achieve this, like this one many times to achieve. So you can see this one is a round, round rectangle. And this one is round. So we'll talk about how to do that now. So many times it's just the rectangle too. So with it selected, right? With it selected, I need to come here and click on this. And mind you, there is something in my mind as I'm doing this. I'm aligning it to, because there's one thing with design is that things must be, interrelated to another. Like the length of this thing, because this is the only information that I'm passing across right now. Like this is just the only information. If there were other things, maybe pictures, I will have started paying cognizant of how this title would be, right? The look of this title in respect to the other elements. But later we'll do that. But right now, our elements now are just these three, right? Our elements are just these three, okay, plus this shape now, which is four, right? So as I'm introducing this, it makes more sense for the size of the length of this, right? For me to relate the length of this shape, right? Relate it to this, the length of these two. I don't know if that makes sense. So I will make sure that it is aligned to, so this is where this is, right? I'll make sure it's aligned. And a very good way to, that I normally do this, is I make sure my, what's it called? My ruler is on. By the way, how to bring this ruler is to press Ctrl R. Ctrl R will make it disappear. Ctrl R will bring it out. So once this ruler is there, I will just come here, click on this, on the margin here. I'll click on the margin here and drag this. But I just made a mistake now. What's the mistake? I had this selected, and many times, once you have something selected and you bring out the ruler, it will, okay, and I click out. Once I click out, where is it? But this is not the best way. Let me just, but me that I don't like, this is not the best way. Let me just control C. This is not the best way. But the best way to bring, there's another, you see what I mean once I bring that. Make sure that nothing is selected. As I'm clicking on the empty canvas, and I'm clicking there, making sure nothing is selected, or you can come here and click out either way. So I zoom in, right? Then come here and I click on this, click there on and drag. I clicked and drag this out here to bring this. So with this now, I have, please, once again, if all of this is daunting and too much, please, there is material for you. You just go through this, so that once you are not going through the material and want to do the assignment, right, and want to also try your hand on the assignment, all of this I'm saying to a large extent will make sense. Just hang in there. So I click here to, so this will now give me a proper guide of how, I don't know if you can see the ruler. Can you see my ruler?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this will give me, so why did I go into all of this? It's so that I wouldn't just, since I'm introducing this now, it makes more sense for you to relate. It's called principle of what's the word? It's alignment and there's another principle again, but much of alignment, things should be aligned to one another. So one way to align this now is make sure the length of this, right, is also the same thing with this. So now come here and make sure you can see now it has snapped now. They are really of the same length now. So yeah, so with that done now, okay, let's say our brand color is okay, let's just use our normal, our TCM brand color. Okay, let me look for TCM Maryland logo.
I just want to interrupt you a little.
Yeah, please go on.
When this, what do you call it? Your ruler,
Yes.
I can see that one side on the part, the ruler kind of boxes everything in the middle. Okay, now
Oh, when you
But
say
if that can be a design,
okay, when you say bigger, when you say in terms of when you say from here to this side, then from this side to
yeah,
this side, in relation to
yes,
the canvas.
yes,
Okay, to a large extent, I'm not so much looking at the canvas to a large extent. I'm focusing on just this title. Let's just imagine that our focus is just these three items. Remember, I said that. But
yeah,
on a normal project, I'm meant to pay cognizant of the whole canvas size because by then I have my background, I have images, right? I have
okay,
background image and I also have other image that really give context to the idea that I'm trying to pass, right? Let's say we are saying hire a V, right? A virtual assistant. Maybe you have a virtual assistant talking now. Assuming all of that is there now, right? Then all of what I'm doing, decision, right? All in terms of my alignment, right? And in terms of my proximity, I'll be paying attention to that. But right now, I'm not doing that. Rather, I'm just dialing down to these three items that my focus now, every alignment, yes,
yeah,
happening.
I get it
Okay.
now. I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So I just bring this out to there is sometimes, many times actually, picking colors are usually, they are usually affected by the brand. If they don't, now, sometimes they may call you, they may not give you brand. Every brand should have a brand identity. That's in terms of you have the major color, the complementary color, and all of that that you'll be using, right? But sometimes they don't do that. You now need to do that by yourself with the logo. Or when you go to the website, you'll be able to see how they've mixed colors sometimes. So I'm bringing this here now as a reference to how to quickly pick this color. So yes, so I've aligned this. I made sure that this I didn't just put this anyhow. Rather, I'm making sure it's aligned, it's on the same length, right, with this, right? That is understood, right? Yeah. So I now want to give it a color. The way to do that is once you have this selected. Now, let me quickly a quick crash into this again and again. If you go through the course material, you will have a proper breakdown of all of this. Once there are okay, no, let me not go into that. Once I have this selected, and it's with this selection too, right? Once I have this selected, right? There's a and I hit A to format what's it called? To format shapes, right? You hit A to format the shape. You see this shape, this thing will come here, will appear here. The fill and the stroke will appear here. But even without this, once you are on the property panel, this property panel here, which pops up here, I could have actually done that here. I could have actually done that here by clicking this. You see the same way. So once I have this now, once I double click this now, once I click this, I come here. So I can choose like other colors. These are other colors I've been playing with before now. And this is like other colors that Adobe is suggesting for me. But I can come here to like click this to choose a custom color, to choose a specific color. So I double click here. So I double click here. This is Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop. We will talk about that, how you can get it and all of that. So I've double clicked. Again, how did I come here? I was here, I press A, or I can access it here, but many times I tend to do that here. I click here, then I click on this, then this pops up. Then automatically, once I hover my mouse outside this color picker, once I hover my mouse outside this, it will bring a color picker too. So I can sample a color, which I think this particular, is it purple? No, orange, right? This orange color now, right? Which I believe is good enough. So once I click it, it selects it. You can see it has selected this. So I can click OK. So it changes. Now, right now, I don't feel like many times once I'm doing this, I barely use stroke. I just use fee for it. So once I click here, I disable this. So I have my why do I need to hire a VA, right? So you can see some level of contrast is being given here. But one thing, mind you, there's one thing you need to pay cognizant of. Since I've used this now as a box that this I need to should sit on, right? This I need to should sit on. Then it makes more sense for I need, right, to be properly aligned, to the box itself. And how do I do that? How do I achieve that? I come here. Okay, one way to do that. I wanted to show you the one that I'm very much confident, but I think one of the easier way to actually do that is that I make sure these two are selected. I have this selected. I'm holding Control to click here. I need, right? I'm holding Control to click on this. So both of them, rectangle and this is selected. So I can come here now and use this now to align both of them together. So they are aligned. What was it? I think this is horizontally, and I want to align them vertically with this one. So you can see they are aligned better. Yeah. And one thing I skipped is that if you find where I copied, if you check where I copied this information from, you can see that every text here, can you see the text here are in sentence case, right? In fact, there is a typo error here. This there's a punctuation error. This I should be in capital letter, right? But by the time I brought it into Photoshop, everything, where is the first one? Everything appeared. Yeah, you see the good thing of having a canvas is I can put this in outside. I can actually put this outside and I can focus on this. I can focus working on. But once I type everything here, everything turned to what's it called? Everything was on capital, right? Everything was capitalized. Why is that? It's a simple function in this character. Once you're in this character panel, it's a simple function. Is that this is selected. This thing here is selected. There is all caps 2 here selected. But once I click on it, you can see everything turns back to the original format I copied them from. So I need to click this back. So many times once I'm doing a title, right? I think 90% times, right? Once I'm doing a title, I usually have them all all in capital letter. Many times. Okay, so why do I need? So this is a way to do that. But looking at this now, I try to observe this. But you see where I just explained to you a principle, right? Everything should be aligned, and one way to align them is through the length, right? I just explained that to you. But looking back now, I don't think this is quite effective. It's quite, you know what? Let me group that. Let me group everything into one. So this is A. Okay, how did I made sure I selected everything. Okay, Ctrl G. So I made sure everything is selected and I press Ctrl G to group everything. So Ctrl G and I'm saying A. I just name it as A, sample A. So I can Alt drag. I think even if I do Ctrl C, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Okay, it worked. But I barely use Ctrl C, Ctrl V there, but it worked. So I've duplicated this A. I want to. This is B, sample B. So I'm taking this up now. This is the A, this is sample B. Remember, I just told you a principle of, and which I tried observing, right? The principle to always align things. But after looking at it, I don't think it really is really that effective, right? It's really effective. Because I feel like at the end of the day, with this I need, right, is looking as if this shape is swallowing it a lot. So as such, in order to avoid that, I need to drag this, and I'm holding Alt as I'm dragging this other part. This other part is coming. I'm holding Alt as I'm dragging this. Or the other way, I can come here after dragging this. Drag this together. So now I'm being tempted to, to make this like this. And if that's the case now, to make it aligned, if I'm not making aligned to this, but make it aligned to this one. to make it align to this other why do. Or in itself, I think in itself is quite okay like this. So I don't know if you all are following. So this is one way to do this. This is one way to achieve. And if you watch, usually whenever I start applying shapes like this, I now many times I'm prompted to okay. An idea came to me. I think all of this should be in bold, not just this I need, right? All of them should be in bold. I think extra bold, right? Yeah, I need, right? Yeah, because it makes sense. Like the I need is a key word in this. Yeah, many times the other thing I needed to go so is to talk about the contrast in color. So once this happen, once I usually many times it's not all times, many times once I introduce color like this, I use shape as a contrast, right? Then I am prompted to also make a contrast in a color. So remember, how do I change? Have I showed you? Okay, no, I've not showed you how to change the color of text. Have we done that? But the way to change the color of text is that once you're in the character panel, right? Once you're in the character panel or the property panel, then you can change, you can see where to change or the character, right? Character has to do anything that has to do with text. Whenever you're on text, anything you want to do about the text, right? Once you're in the character panel, right, you can change, do anything like the size, change the size. All of these changes that I've been doing, changing it to bold and extra bold, has been inside this character panel. So now I want to change it to white. So you can see the difference now between this and this first one here and this also. So let's just call this one. Okay, that's our A, abi. Control C, Control V. Now let's call this one C. Now, what I told you, I noticed that other time. Now, this is to a large extent. I think if we submit this as our title, either of this, I think to a large extent, with this understanding of the design principles, there's some level of contrast happening here, as opposed to where is that? Where did we start the first time? No, this is not the first one. Oh, this is the second one. Oh, where is it? No. Yeah, as opposed to this is where we started, right? So in all of these I've done, in all of these that we've been through, there's some level of contrast. So to a large extent, with this is quite communicative. With this one here, with this first one here, with this first one here, it's quite communicative compared to this, right? And this is quite much communicative compared to this, right? However, I believe this one is much more effective compared to this one. And again, I believe this one is much more communicative compared to this. However, yes, there's something where there's usually this thing at the back of my mind, right? Anytime I'm designing, especially title, I try to make everything fit in a box as if I'll make sure that imagine there's an imaginary box that everything, either a square or a box that everything is fitting in. So you can see in terms of that boxing, right? With this and this, it worked, but there was not a huge contrast here. So why and I need there's a box happening here, it worked, but there's a sharp contrast here, right? So as such, there is just something in me that is saying, this thing is not sitting well as effective enough as it should. Now, you will have just said, okay, if that's the case, let's break this further, right? Let's break this further by doing this. Okay, once we do that, no. Once we do that, but yes, once we do that, you will have thought, okay, this is quite okay. Okay, let me have a backup for this. Yeah, once we have this, you have thought, okay, then we have achieved our box skin things, right? Now, to remember to align them, I'm hitting here. I'm hitting this align to here, selecting this, hitting align to. Okay, let me make all of this invisible so I'll focus on this one alone. Let me make all these other ones invisible. Okay, so I focus on it. Yes, you will have said, okay, yes, I've achieved my box. I really, 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 really. I think this is quite much more communicative. But there's one rule again now. If that's the case, there's another one. It's not like in the design community, there's something that many times is not voiced out, but once you are like as I'm saying this to you now, you will just grasp it, right? You will continue to work with that. It's not really a must. There are principles. It's not like a law. If I have this as a title, eh, yeah. But there's a but. Many titles, right? They usually tend not to go beyond 3 lines. That's I have one, two, three. Once it's beyond, it should be one, two. At max, 3 lines. Once it's going beyond that, you are that is like it's now becoming too much. This thing I've just said to you, don't take my word for it. Do your research. Look at like a very good poster or flyers that titles. They're usually one or two, then at max three. But once it's going to four now, so that's the other problem this poses now. So if that's the case now, how do we now solve this? What's now the solution to this? The solution that came to me is where is it? Or the solution that came to my mind. I'm doing Control C, Control V. So I'm doing making a duplicate of this. Let me bring it down. By the way, the way to elongate a what's it called? A canvas. If you want to make the canvas bigger than it is, right? You just need to click at the edge of it, at the edge. I clicked at the edge, this thing came out, and it can allow me to drag it down like this. So I just made it bigger. And for me to click out from this editing the canvas mode, I just need to click inside the canvas. Inside the canvas. So the way out of this, please I'll soon be done. The way out of this now, this is what came to my mind, is that I need to, why do I need to okay, but this is what came to me. Let's see. Now, mind you, what I'm about to do is an idea I have. I'm not sure it will work, but I'm just trying it out. Then after laying everything, I'll now check, oh, did it work? Oh, is this much more? Sometimes, remember I just told you that, oh, these 4 lines is too much, right? Yeah, those are principles. Sometimes we just good for you to know the principle. Sometimes you may break it. Remember, I started from I wanted this thing to be aligned to this other one, but then I saw it's not really looking nice, right? Then I brought it smaller, right? However, now also there is the idea of that titles shouldn't be more than 3 lines, right? As such, it's making me make a what's it called a decision. But to a large extent, I might also actually make the decision and I feel like I now realize that even with this breaking the rule, right, it works better other than the solution I was trying to give. So I'll just go on with it. But let's just try. So I've added higher here. Why try to higher? Let's see. So what came to my mind is that this one should now be very, very bigger. Now, Remember where we started from? Like when I told you the way I enlarged this, or that I came here, right? The first time. I think this class is getting too long. The way I came here the first time, right? But another way to do that is to click this edge here, the edge on this, and drag out. Just continue to drag and make it bigger. Yeah. So again, I'm aligning this. So then I will now take this to, I'm selected this, and I'm holding shift to select. Yeah, I'm holding shift. I'm zooming in now. So I'm holding shift to make sure that this is selected, that this other one is selected, and scale it down. Remember again, once I'm here, I click here and I'm here. This mouse, right, it will allow me to scale this down. So, so you can imagine. So with this now, because of, remember where because of what was it called? What informed this decision was that, hello, this thing was becoming too much, right? This was becoming too much. The four lines were becoming too much. That was what informed this decision. That now made me the emphasis. I now place so much emphasis on the AVA, right? In order to give that contrast, and yes, and make this seat. Yeah, this is usually in terms of title. Where for me, the way I usually approach my titles, that I usually try to make the last item on the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I usually try to make the last what's it called, word on the this thing to act as if is the giant that is carrying every other thing. So as such, that's the thing, that's the solution I'm reverting to now. That's the method. Although that's like the thinking, that's the design thinking. That's the thing that is on my head right now that made me scale this down. And remember, another thing is that I usually in my head there is an invisible. You can see there's like an invisible box. Though this thing is not really doing justice to it. I don't know. Okay, yeah, I think I have this extra. Okay, no, let me delete this. So you can see. So there's this box now that I'm trying to put everything right in a box. So as opposed to if this one, as opposed to if this were to be, if this were to be, if this were to be bigger, right? This was like almost a normal size, Abi. Okay, I need, where is my eye? Okay, the eye is there. It's just that this thing is not covering it. Here it's there. As opposed to this, once I have something like this, okay, let me take this, let me put this in the middle, and my rectangle in the middle. As opposed to this, once I have something like this, at the end of the day, you can see it's not, the box is not proper. It's not proper. It's as if, okay, it's as if there's a flow of direction, current from here. I flow here, then I go all the way here, then come down again. It's not too proper as opposed to where is it? As opposed to something like this. Yeah, as opposed to something like this. And mind you, again, the idea of things must be connected to each other. Things must be connected to each other. Is also happening here. Is also at the back of my mind. What do I mean by that? You can see I'm making sure that where this guy ends is where this A. Now, for some people, now these are like some different, what's it called, designers. Some people believe that this, when I want to align this, right? If I want to align this, if I want to align this box to this now, it should be here. right? Where mathematically it should be here. But visually, also, you can align it to here. I don't know if you get, you can align it to here, to this end in here. So either way works. But me, many times, especially in A's and some other, maybe some other letters, I tend to align it in this last one. But that's by the way. But the idea is that I'm trying to also align things to each other. Okay, I make sure that this is here. Then I make sure that this one, see, it's a bit difficult for me to determine where the end of this one. So I can drag this. So I make sure this is here, right? So so I cannot take it and move it to the middle. There's another way to do this, but I don't want to start boring with all of that. So this is what we end up having. Why do I need to hire a VA? So for the title, I would have loved to go to the other title, but for the sake of time, right? Let me. So this is where we started from. Where is it now? So this is where we started from. So a quick recap of so far, like the is that right. Whenever we're talking of typography, we're talking of okay, how do I arrange, the text, right, to make it communicative, to be effective, that someone, especially the message, the major thing I want to pass across, that once someone looks at it, they get that thing straight ahead. That's the major thing. And a very good tool to achieve that, a very good idea or principle to achieve that is contrast, is the idea of contrast, using contrast, right? So we say, so when you are not employing contrast, you employ contrast in the sense of contrast in type, right? Which we have done, which we did with this. We started from here, right? We said, okay, I could have made this need, right? Need bolder as a major thing that will catch the person's attention when they look at it. Then we have contrast in shape, right? You can use shape, you can employ shape to make some pop. Then we have contrast in color, right? Then I went deeper to okay, in terms of alignment, I went a little bit of alignment and some other basic, principle of design thinking whenever designing a title, right? Is that is that things should be aligned to each other, right? As such, I started from here, then I made this, but it was not like yes, I wanted to adhere to that rule, but which I did. By the end of the day, the shape is just swallowing up this, right? It's swallowing up this. So as such, I made it smaller, right? And kind of align it to this wide, right? Then after that, I spoke about at the end of the day, your title should look as if there's just one box that everything is seated. Okay, there's a meeting I need to quickly join now. Everything there should be an easy flow. For instance, what do I mean? There is this flow from here, like the flow from here and here is not too drastic as opposed to this one where you have here come out and go, right? Yeah, as opposed to this, the change between this and this is just too much. As such, the solution was to break it, right, which I did. But at the end of the day, we now ended up having like 4 lines, which I said, many times in title you should have either one, two, three, maximum three. But once you start going to four, that's like it's as if you don't know what you're doing. So yes, so far that's like this is just like a demo into my own design thinking, and then just a little bit touch into some of the design software, the tools that we use in creating, flyers and titles. Hope you're able to like learn something significant with this class, and yeah, and I leave the floor open for any questions. If you have any question, if you have any feedback, if you have anything to comment, so you can just quickly say that now. Yeah, can you all hear me? I was asking for your response question. Okay, okay, if you say so. Okay, I think we just call it a day then. But as I said, please, the major emphasis in what's it called? The the model of this class, right? The emphasis is on you doing assignment, not on the teaching. Some of these things I just try to teach. Usually, okay, most of the design thinking, so many times you may not really get it out there, right? And there's still some material that's still taught it, but it's good. So these are like, okay, let me still push you to it and all of that. But the major things I will point you to materials which I have done. Please go through those materials and do your assignment. Now, the assignment, okay, okay. The assignment now is that where is that our where is it? Yeah, I will need you. I will have done okay, maybe later I'll record a demonstration class for this, right? How to these 10 faceless rules or something. I'll do a demonstration class for that. Okay, Paul, I have a question, but let me just quickly finish. This is I will need you people to look on your own using this. Yes, this one, three service you can outsource to us, right? Using this as a source, right? So create a title for this. Create a title for this. You know what? Let me change the. Let me change. Yeah, create a title for this. Yeah, and this too. So create title for this using this two as source as your title as your caption. Yes, as your caption. Create title for it. So you can either do that using Canva if you are more comfortable with Canva, whatever tool you are comfortable with, please use. But if this is your first time, please go through the crash course of the introduction video. Go through the materials actually. Yeah, yeah, there are materials here. Where is it? Yeah, go through this material. Like you see this crash course on Photoshop. Yeah, you use that, and there are some other lessons video that I myself have treated, that I've done. Right, you can go through that to like get a hand on Photoshop. Then this one then this one here is about the general what's it called ideas, the design thinking, right? Materials on design thinking. Also go through that. That will help you to to effect to do this assignment. Yeah. So, who was it? Is it Manuela? Is it Paula? Who said?
Yeah, it was me. I just wanted to say, not a question, I just wanted to say now that we've done this class and you've kind of like, explained and done the demo, um, I'll now will be able to apply what I've learned here and do the assignment. Because the assignment of last week, honestly, I was lost. I didn't have an idea of what it was that, we were meant to do. I didn't know which of the tools to use. Now I know that I should go to Photoshop or Canva or wherever it is and just try to create something. So I'll also do the crash course, use the resources that you've given to us, and I think, yeah, that will be like a good start and more enlightening for me. Thank you very much.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, yeah. Again, the first assignment was like, when you go to a swimming pool with the hope that okay, you with the hope to learn how to swim, right? And the first thing the teacher does is just to throw you people inside this inside, just push you inside the pool. That was like, and that's the method I actually learned. That's how me I learned to work. So, but that was it. But yeah, yeah. But going forward, Sha, I think with all of this now, you're able to. Then, but later we'll go back, we'll revisit that assignment one again. Hopefully, you'll be able to have the much more, muscle memory and the capacity to do it. Okay, thank you all for joining the class. Thank you all. Please again, happy. Yeah, yeah, happy to you. Do the assignment, please. Try. I'm not expecting. Maybe I don't. I'm not expecting you to be perfect with it, but I'm expecting you to have tried something. That's the list. Okay. Dami, you wanted to say something?
So I
I didn't even know there was assignment last week until this morning when I saw it.
Okay.
So, but with this, I think I have a good passion. I'll try and go through the materials and do better.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay then. Yeah, thank you everyone. Good night.
So when we do the assignments, are we to submit it or are we to keep it until the next class?
Yeah. To submit, I will share a folder where you have to submit it to. Then later we will we'll meet like this again and do feedback. How could you have and you all critique yourself. I will show you each other's listing. You give your feedback. Oh, how could how could you have done it better and all of that. Then before we now move to other class. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, good night.